Alrighty, welcome guys to this new video here. So basically, we are continuing on from where we left off yesterday, or 2 days ago rather. I kind of always say that's kind of my problem. I also have uploaded this file to Google Docs so that you guys are able to look at the exact notes if you'd like to, if you didn't get a print off of it last time and you want it. And that's also going to be the place where your homework is going to be at a couple of homework problems. Again, completely graded, on completion. And I'm gonna be going through them in this video, anyways, just for this very first time. However, please note that last time was vocab and just me talking. This time is going to be going through example problems. And because the first example is always going to be, okay, the teacher shows you how to do the entire thing. But usually the second problem is you kind of do it step by step, and then the third problem is you doing it all on your own. So there's going to be a point in this video where I ask you to pause the video and actually try the question on your own. So you got to actually do that. I know it's hard to get into that mode of you want to just quit, you want to not do the work, you want to just do a little bit of copying, but you got to get in that learning mode of trying it on your own, making it like you're in the classroom and the teacher just said, okay, here's your practice problem. Me, that's what I do. I say, hey, here's a practice problem, here's a whiteboard, and you might say, okay, did I do this first step right, Mr. Richards? Okay, fine. Then play the video for 2-3 seconds, however long it takes you to get to that next step in the problem, and then pause it again if you want that reassurance that you've been doing it correctly. But you really got to make sure we treat this like a regular classroom. So this first example, okay, you're copying the whole dang thing into your notebook. Why is it zooming in and out? Okay, I gotta turn the mic off for just 1 second. Okay, turn it back on now. So making sure it actually did turn back on. Yes, it did. Okay. So basically, again, I'm going to be doing this full example here, and then the next example, I'm going to do the whole thing, but you should be pausing, seeing if you actually understood the first couple steps. And then the third example, you really want to try to do as much of it on your own as you can, like a regular classroom. All right, so let's get the show on the road. Let's remind ourselves of what we were doing. We were graphing parabolas. Our essential question here is, what is a parabola and how can I graph one in vertex form? So we answered that question, what is a parabola, that part of it yesterday. We figured out and we learned, here we go, that parabolas are the shape of the graph of a quadratic function. You got this happy face parabola or a frowny face parabola. We also learned a couple of important parts of that parabola. We learned that very top guy is called the vertex. And we also learned that, I ran out of room here, we learned that these two spots right here in the parabola where it crosses the x-axis are called the zeros. So we're going to first learn how to find those three spots, the vertex and the zeros. And again, that is our objective. I can graph a parabola locating the vertex and both zeros. So again, we drew that kind of little picture. There's our vertex there at the bottom, and they're both of those zeros. Here's the actual question. So we got f of, example one, f of x equals, and we have x minus 1 squared minus 4, and your goal is to graph this guy. Okay, so you got to graph it. So I want to go back to our vocab word, one of our vocab words that we wrote down. What color did I use for vocab yesterday? Let's see, what did I use? I used red. Okay, so I'm going to use that red color again. So this guy is what is called vertex form. So we want to compare and contrast to that main formula that we wrote down yesterday. So we have f of x equals a times x minus h squared plus k. So here's our vertex form. So now we can figure out what all these letters mean and what they're going to be doing. So in this question, a is equal to positive 1. Remember, it is invisible. So it's looking to be like right. I'm going to draw a little arrow. How about I do blue for my little arrow? So if you want to, right there, that's where my invisible little 1 is. It's right there in front. What does this mean? The only part of the parabola that's really important for this is that this means it creates a happy face. So we know we are going to be a happy face parabola just because it is a positive number. We don't care what the number is. It's a positive number making a happy face. It's actually going to be positive 1 for a lot of our questions here in Algebra 1. We start making it not positive 1 a few times later, but not that often and not until Algebra 2 usually. After that, our h is equal to positive 1. We have to remember we change the sign every single time. So we see that negative 1 there. So it is a changed sign. So you don't have to write those, when you're actually doing every single problem. I'm just writing little notes. It's a positive 1 because we changed that sign up there. So if you want to draw yourself, again, a nice, cute little arrow up to that point, you can. Boom. So you change that sign. And finally, the letter K is going to be simply negative 4. Not really much to it. It's the last one that's even there. You don't really need to draw an arrow to that one unless you really want to. So have that negative 4, and we are good to go. So what is going to happen next? Well, this information lets us know what the vertex is. The vertex is always, just as a reminder, vertex is always h, comma, k. So we found our h as positive 1. We found our k is negative 4. It's this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. We already did. And there's our vertex. So our vertex for this question is guaranteed to be, where am I going to write it? I'm going to write it in, how about, put this green color here. So we're going to say our vertex there, which I'm going to use the letter V for vertex, is the coordinates 1, comma, negative 4. So that's our first important coordinate. We can graph the vertex here by locating the vertex and both zeros. We have found the vertex. Again, how did I find that vertex? It's this guy right here where I changed the sign. That is my x value. And it's this guy right here, literally just copied. Okay. So next step, we have to find both zeros. This involves using stuff from what we did for before break. So if you forgot how to do it, that's okay. I'm going to remind you how to do it. So let's look at the definition for zeros. So zeros, how do we do it? The coordinates where it crosses zeros. You find zeros by making your f of x equal to 0. So you change that f of x to a 0 and you solve that equation. So let's do that. So having struggles getting this all lined up here. So we're going to go ahead and do our second. Oh, I shouldn't have. That was the definition part, this red. Whatever. All right, so our definition part, we have this f of x equals. We are going to change that f of x to a 0. This is step 1. Step 2. 0 equals x minus 1 squared minus 4. For those of you who remember how to solve this, you actually could, pause the video for a second if you'd like to solve this one on your own. If you don't remember how to solve it, let's review it really quick. So first, we're going to take that negative 4, and we're going to move it to the other side of the equation. So it's going to become a positive 4 on the other side. At this step, most students are used to seeing the x minus 1 squared on the other side. So it's very useful just to switch the positions of both things so it's back to how we are used to looking at it. And you know what? Just for your notes so you have it, you could say, maybe at this step you could write, if you wanted to, you don't have to write this, moved 4 to other side. This might help you, you're in the middle of doing a homework assignment or something, you want to try to do it on your own. You could do that. You could write switch or something here, switch sides. Because you're allowed to do that if you want to, just switch the whole dang thing around. After that, this is actually from before break, we split this into two separate questions. So it becomes one that's positive with our square root symbol. So we have x minus, I should have written it up there. Oh well. X minus 1 equals the square root of 4, because we're taking the square root of both sides. And x minus 1 equals the negative square root of 4. So we did square root of both sides, square root 2 problems, square root 2 parts if you want to. The square root of 4 is 2. Negative square root of 4 is negative 2. And then you just got to add 1 to both sides. So if I take that negative 1 and move it over there, it becomes a positive 1, and therefore x equals 3. And we got negative 2 plus 1, and therefore x equals negative 1. And again, you can use your calculator, your Wolfram Alpha, whatever you want to help you with these questions here. So we have this x equals 3 and x equals negative 1. What are we going to do with these? These are the x values of the 0. Let's go look at our definition of 0 one more time. So our definition for 0 again, what's it say? Man, I'm having struggles with my camera. We're going to try again. All right. So the coordinates for a parabola crosses the x-axis. It is a z, comma 0. So the value that we just found, comma 0, every single time. It always looks like this. So in this question, we just found 3 as one of the, so 3 is a 0. Specifically, this is going to create the coordinate 3, comma 0. And this one's going to create the coordinate negative 1, comma 0. So let's repeat this entire process one more time. Let's go ahead and review just so we can hear again what we have done so far in this question, because we were told to graph, and I haven't even drawn a dang graph yet. All I've done is math stuff. So what have we actually figured out? We figured out, first of all, we had A, H, and a K. A, number in front, positive 1, makes a happy face. Part number 2. This negative 1 became a positive 1. You always change the sign for this x value. You do not change the sign for the y value, and it creates h comma k or x comma y for our vertex. Then we needed to find zeros. To find zeros, we made the f of x in the original question equal to 0. So that was our original question up here, the same exact one, and we made that equal to 0. And we solved that equation just like we did previously. We moved that 4 to the other side. Switch the side so it's how we're used to looking at it. Did our square root of both sides and made it 2 separate questions. Square root of 4 is 2. Added 1 to the other side. 2 plus 1 is 3. Same concept over here, and we rewrote this as a coordinate. So we now have 3 coordinates. 1, 2, 3 coordinates. We basically have these 3 coordinates here on our graph. So now we can actually create a graph. We have not done a whole bunch of graphing in my class. We did literally 1 lesson on graphing way back in December, and who knows, we've remembered how to do it. So we're going to go ahead and do that, but we don't even have graph papers. So we're going to have to learn how to do graph paper more on our own, kind of like how I would do on the board. And I'm going to take you through that nice and slow right now. So let's do it. If you'd like to use a ruler here, you can. I wonder if I have a ruler. I can go find one really quick. You know what? I'm going to pause the video and see if I can go find myself a ruler, because this will be prettier if I have a ruler. So I'm going to hit pause really quick. So I was not able to find a ruler, but I was able to find a new pink pen. I'm very happy about this. And I was able to find a Pokemon Sword bookmark that I have. So I have this bookmark. I'm just going to use that as a straight edge. I'm sure you guys can find something that is straight edge thing so you can actually do some nice neat little graphs, because that's what we need to do here, is you need to create some good little graphs. So even though we only need 1 graph here, I'm actually going to make multiple graphs just like I did on my notes, so that you guys can look back and see, okay, how did I create graphs in general, so I can always make sure I'm doing it the same way and not messing up. Please note that you can do graphs in a lot of different ways. This is how I was taught how to do graphs, and I think it really was helpful. Funny enough, I learned it exactly the same time, basically, as you guys, Algebra 1, and like I said, it's very, very helpful just to always create things the same way. So what are you going to do first? You're going to go ahead and draw kind of a good size straight line here, vertical up and down, and left and right. Doing my best to... Well, it is way off on one side, so I guess I gotta extend it on this side. Okay, good enough. Doesn't need to be perfect, as long as it's somewhat reasonable. After that, so these are called our axes. So what we've drawn so far is step 1, we have drawn, and we also need to label axes. And it's spelled axes, but it's pronounced axes, so just strangeness. So this guy over here is going to be our x, and this is going to be our y equals f of x axis. Sometimes you just want to write a little y, sometimes you write just a little f of x. I'm writing both for this problem. You only got to do it really once overall. I'm going to use y for the rest of the problem just because. Anyways, continuing on though, we also need to draw, label axes and arrows. Why arrows? Arrows mean they go off in both directions forever. So our arrow here, we're going off forever this way, we're going off forever this way, we're going off forever that way, and up forever this way. So we're going up, down, left, right, forever and ever. These go in all directions. Cool. After this, we need to, step 2, we need to draw and label tick marks. Now, unfortunately, we have to do that entire first step again because we're showing the next thing that's going to happen. So let's go ahead and do that. So we have to draw and label tick marks. So here we go, and we got that cool Pokemon bookmark again. We got a line going left and right. Where do I want it? How about right there? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I don't know, I'm gonna do it in the middle just cause. Totally arbitrary. A little bit longer. Okay. Alright. So again, so we drew those 2 lines. Arrows. Label X, Y, gorgeous. Okay, so now it says draw and label tick marks. So we're gonna need to do cutesy little tick marks. I recommend doing 1, 2, 3, 4 small ones and then 1 big one. And you do that on all sides. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, if you're doing it perfect, every single one of these has to be the same space so that you can, count it evenly. It looks like maybe this one was a little bit too small, maybe that one was a little bit too big. So it's not going to be perfect because you're doing it by hand. If you wanted to, you could actually take a ruler and make sure you're counting the same number of tick marks every time. I'm not going to be doing that. That's a little bit too much effort for me. And again, we're doing 4 small and then a big one for the 5th guy. There we go. So that's drawing the tick marks. Now I have to label them. Usually you want to label the big guys, so you can label it where you're counting all of them by 1. So it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You could label it by 2s, where it goes 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. You could label it by 10s, where it goes 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. You can label it by hundreds, where it goes 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. Doesn't matter what you do. You have to label it the same. We're labeling it a 5 here. Excuse me. So it's all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you usually want to label it at least once on the x-axis and once on the y-axis. Easy enough. If you want to, you can also label the negatives. Excuse me. Got the hiccups all of a sudden. Strange. So there you go. I labeled. So we have the positive and negative direction. Not a total requirement, but this is what you got to do for creating your graphs. So this is like creating graphs page. Whew. Okay. So we have been doing so many things. So many things. So now we need to actually create this graph here, and I have room right here to do it. So now we actually have to do step 3, which is graph and connect the dots. So step 3 I'm kind of doing over here. So let's just go ahead. Let's divide this up. Divide this up. Step number 3. Oof. All right. So step number 3 here. And I got to create the graph. I got to do it one more time. So this is where, again, this is going to be the first time in the video where I'm telling you to pause, because if you actually remembered what we just did, creating that graph, drawing the 2 lines straight up and down, putting the arrows, putting the labels, putting the check marks, putting everything, you'll be good to go. But if you don't remember how to create that cutesy little graph that we were just doing, you know, this whole thing, we want to recreate this guy. See if you can do it without my help. So pause the video, see if you can do it without my help. Okay, there's your chance to pause it. All right, let's actually create this guy. So, boom. 1 line going this way. 1 line going that way. That's the best one I've done so far, and it's on the one that's on the notes. Isn't that awesome? So, arrows. X, Y, tick marks. 1, 2, 3, 4. Big one, 5. 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 Okay. Label this guy a 5. Label this guy a 5. Again, it's optional to label the negative ones, so I'm just not going to label the negative ones. I'm only labeling the positives. There we go. So, now, the whole point of this process was to graph the parabola. We're so close to being done with these notes. We're so close. All right, so we need to graph this vertex 1, -4. So we're going to count a positive 1 going 1 to the right. So we're going to go 1 over here and then down 1, 2, 3, 4 down here. So there is our vertex. I like labeling it with a V, but I like labeling it after we finish the graph if we can. So let's finish the graph and then we'll try to label it afterwards. We also need 3, 0. So that means we are going 3 to the left. Sorry, what did I say left? I'm so sorry, guys. Left and right. 3 to the right. 1, 2, 3. Why am I using this color? I'm going to use my pink that I just got. We're going to use pink. So there's my pink dot for 1, 4. Our pink dot for 3, 0, and a pink dot at -1, 0. So our step 3 is literally just plotting those dots down on the paper. And we need to connect the dots. As a reminder, we are creating a happy face parabola. So do not just draw straight lines connecting these things. You want to draw a clear, happy face that goes through these. So we want to make a curvy line. A curvy line. A curvy line. Whew, okay. We did it. We created this curvy line. It's nice and pretty. It's awesome, looks like. That's technically done. If you want to, you can put a little smiley face because you're finally done with the problem. You drew a happy face parabola. I don't know. Maybe you want to draw a frowny face because you didn't want to do this much work. But hey, so it goes. Step 4 is optional, but I like doing step 4 because it makes you practice a couple things and it checks your work. So checking your work is going to be a plugging in a number step. I'm going to plug in 0. So what did we do first? Our step 1 up here, we actually were finding the vertex. So what color do I want to do this in? Let's use this like bluish one that I just found. So we want to do find vertex. That's what we actually did in step 1. In step 2, kind of went too fast there. You might have to rewind. I'm sorry about that. So we found the vertex first, and then step 2, we found the zeros. Step 3 was graph. And step 4 over here is going to be the check. So honestly, the check is optional, but I do like checking it because I feel like these problems take a long time just to get everything together, and doing all this work and getting it wrong is depressing. So checking your work can make you happy. So the check, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make x equal to 0 and see what you get. You could make x equal to like 1 or x equal to 2 or x equal to 5 or something else and see what you get, but x equals 0 is consistent. So let's do that. So we're going to check x equal to 0. So that means we're going to be doing f of 0. Again, we are using the original equation up here. We're just replacing f of 0 equals 0 minus 1 squared minus 4 equals negative 1 squared minus 4. So 0 minus 1 is negative 1. Negative 1 squared is positive 1 minus 4, and I get my bottom of my page, negative 3. So what does that mean? It means that I have the coordinates 0, negative 3 on my graph. Do I have that coordinate on my graph? Oh, I sure do. It's right there. Here's my 0, negative 3 because it's 0, 1, 2, 3 negative on the graph. Beautiful. So we definitely did it right. So, holy moly, what a deal with the problem here. So, let's go ahead and actually try some, the practice problems. So this is one I did all on my own, and you kind of just copied and followed along. I'll remind people that the next problem you want to kind of do step by step, where I'm going to tell you, okay, try the first step. I'll tell you what the first step is, but you need to actually try doing it on your own. Then you're gonna pause the video, try it on your own, then you're gonna unpause. I'll tell you what the next step is. You'll do it step by step like this, back and forth, back and forth. When we do the third problem, you're doing it all on your own. And eventually you're gonna want to be able to do the homework, because the homework is gonna be what you have to do, hopefully over the weekend. I did say 2 assignments a week, not 3, and it looks like we're already at 27 minutes into this video here, so I don't want to overload you guys. So let's just try to do these 2 questions, and we'll call it quits for this week. Okay. Maybe you want to do those practice problems as homework. So let's see, where are we going to do these practice problems? You know what? We are paper killers right now. I'm going to this side of this notebook here. So we're doing, I don't know, practice problem graphing. Practice graphing. Please note, if you still have the print off of the homework, or if you have a printer at home, you are able to print off the graphing parabolas notes, and there's room on that paper to do this, because I was originally going to have you do it on the paper itself in class, but it didn't quite happen. So our practice graphing, our whiteboard practice problem. We don't really have a whiteboard here. Graphing the parabola, and it is f of x equals negative x minus 4 squared plus 9. And I'm going to pause really quick. I'm going to take a drink before I do this question. All right. Sorry, guys. Okay. Here we go. We have this f of x equals negative of x minus 4 plus 9. So what do we have to do? Our step 1 is find the vertex. So when you find the vertex, we need to use these 3 values somehow. And again, I recommend pausing the video to see if you can figure that out on your own. So pause the video, see if you can figure it out. Okay, that was your chance. Now I'm going to do it myself. So you're finding the vertex. We're going to say A equals negative 1. If A is negative 1, this creates a frowny face. We're going to say H equals positive 4. Again, you're switching that sign. And K equals, positive 9. So that means we have the coordinate for our vertex. V equals 4, 9. So we found our vertex, nice and happy. Step number 2. We got to find the zeros. This step does have a little bit of weirdness in it with that negative sign, but it's not that big a deal. So let's go ahead and do it. So we gotta find those zeros. And you find the zeros by making that f of x equals 0. Again, I recommend pausing. See if you can do it on your own. And if you can't, no big deal. Here we go. 0 equals negative x minus 4 squared plus 9. So the trick here is in the previous question, I took that positive 9 and I moved it to the left-hand side and made it negative. But on this question, I could take this whole dang thing that is negative and move it to the other side to make it positive. So I'm going to let you guys think about that for just a second. So what did we do? We took that whole thing, moved it to the other side, and made it positive. Please note, if you did move the negative 9 over here, you could have multiplied by a negative on both sides, but it makes it a little bit harder. That is the easier first step. Now we're going to go ahead and split it into 2 separate questions. Now, if you couldn't make it that far, maybe pause now and see if you can figure out the rest on your own. You know, as much as you can do on your own, the better. X minus 4 equals the square root of 9. X minus 4 equals the negative square root of 9. X minus 4 equals 3. I'm going to speed through this next part because this next part is easier. 3 plus 4, we got x equals 7. We got x equals negative 3 plus 4, so we got x equals 1, which means that we have the coordinates 7, 0, and 1, 0. That was the whole point of doing this question, is you have these extra zeros going onto the question. And now what do? We graph. So we have a lot of room over here, so I'm going to do the graph right here. I'm using my cutesy little number 3. Let's say 3 is graph. And my cutesy little Pokemon here. Boom. Not quite as good on this one. My practice problem not as good, but hey, arrows, 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 labels, X and Y, tick marks. Now here's the deal on this one. We actually got to do a little bit more on our tick marks here. Why? Because we have this coordinate 7, 0, which means we need to go out to 7 at least for our tick marks. So we have to do a little bit more tick marks this time, and that's okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. All right, I don't know what I had a short circuit on my brain there for a second. I'm gonna switch to pink again here. So we have the vertex first, this 4, 9. Oh, actually 9. We have to go all the way up to 9. Holy moly. So I need 2 more tick marks. 1, 2. All right, just that one. I forgot to label 2. So this is a 5. That's a 5. Okay. So we got 4, 9 goes all the way up here. Way up top, 4, 9. And then we have 7, 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Of course, it's the last tick marker. We just drew that. Duh. Holy moly. And then we have 1, 0. That's right there. Does these 3 dots make sense? And the answer is yes, because it creates a frowny face parabola, and we knew that because of that -1. And we are going down. Doing our best to make a curve. Beautiful. Let's go ahead and check our work, see how well we did. Again, we can check our work by making x equal to 0 on the question. Technically, this is an optional step, so you do not have to do this, but I do like doing it. So we're making x equal to 0 as a check. So f of 0 equals negative of 0 minus 4 squared plus 9. So we'd have negative of -4 squared plus 9, negative of 16 plus 9. Holy moly, negative 16 plus 9 happens to be negative 7. So that means we have the coordinate 0, negative 7 on our graph. So actually, this line here, do you see how it went this way? Really, if I was doing it better, and maybe that's where I should have like a green or actually white out and do this in pencil. If I was doing it better, it would look more like this. So that's a good thing to note. So if you want to, you can actually do this step in advance, if you want to make it neater for yourself. But, would I really take off points for doing this? Of course not. But we obviously were doing mostly correct for this question. Okay, so that was me. Again, that practice problem where I did more of it for you. We have one more practice problem in this video, and the next part of it will be the homework. It'll be the homework video for the next one, and the homework video is going to be a lot shorter for us. I know that would be a third video in a week. I don't know how I'm going to work with that. Maybe I'll just change it up. Maybe make some review problems or something. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I haven't decided. I'm not going to do them all in this video. That'll drive you guys insane. So just one more problem. On this, it said check in with me or a table partner every couple of steps because you'd have to redo the whole problem. So again, I recommend trying it on your own and maybe checking every step or so. Did you do it good? Did you do it good? Did you do it good? That kind of thing. So let's do one more. Another practice graphing. So here is our practice problem. All right, so again, pause between every single step. Maybe pause for the whole thing, see how far you can get on your own, double check that you're doing it right. But please, really try it like it's a classroom, like you're trying your hardest here. So here we go. So we have step 1 is finding our vertex here. So we have a equals positive 1, h equals negative 3. Change that sign. K equals negative 4, which means we have the coordinate negative 3, negative 4 as our vertex. Step number 2. We're going to make f of x equal to 0. We're going to take that negative 4, move it to the other side to make this positive 4. We're going to switch the positions of x plus 3 and 4 there. We're going to take the square root of both sides and make it 2 separate questions. Square root of 4 is 2. Subtract 3 on both sides. And 2 minus 3 is negative 1. Negative 2 minus 3 is negative 5. Oh, couldn't even see what I was doing there. It means we have the coordinate negative 1, 0, and negative 5, 0 as our zeros. We have our 3 coordinates. Now we need to create our graph here. We want to draw a straight line going up and down this way. Straight line going up and left and right this way, up and down. Gosh, I don't even know my directions, guys. We got arrow, 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 x, y, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Label it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Label it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Switch colors, and we need to graph all these coordinates. So we have 1, 2, 3, negative, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're graphing that vertex, negative 3, negative 4. We got negative 1, 0, negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0. So that's the benefit of making those tick marks bigger, is you kind of just know where 5 is right away, so you can jump right to it. And there we go. Oh, I didn't really make that curvy enough. You gotta make it curvy. So, doing my best. Our last step is to check our work here, because that was step number 3. Where's my pen? Step number 3, step number 4, checking our work. What is f of 0 equals 0 plus 3 squared minus 4? So looks like I did the same thing as I did last time, actually, where I kind of made it too straight of a line. Do you see how I kind of went kind of like that and didn't make it like clearly a happy face? So I bet you this is off by a little bit. Let's see how off it is by. So 3 squared is 9, and 9 minus 4 is 5. So I should have the coordinate 0, 5 on my graph. So really, if I was doing it perfect, it would have been more up here, kind of more like this. And that does look better, actually. You know, it looks more like a parabola. But this, again, would have been full credit. I would have been fine with it. It's not like I'd be totally wrong. As a last part to this video, because you guys are working at home with iPads and computers, I want to show you guys that Wolfram Alpha will do this whole question for you as a way to check your work, and it is not cheating to get it this way. As long as you're showing all of this work, I know that you're doing it, and you can really check your work with Wolfram Alpha if you feel like spending the time doing that. So let me go ahead and show you guys that happening really quick. I'm going to get to this Wolfram Alpha. I need to turn off this document camera, turn off my face, transition, okay. And basically you're on this, I don't want Wolfram Alpha, I want Desmos. What am I saying? I want Desmos. So the website is desmos.com. That might be too hard to see up there, but you can see that we're Desmos. That's what we're doing. Start graphing. And if you type it in just as it appears in this question, which was f of x equals x plus 3 squared minus 4, you type that in, it will graph just like we were doing there. It has all of our important coordinates. You can actually go and run your mouse over it. So there's our -3, -4 vertex that we found. There's our -5, 0. Over here we got that -1, 0. Anyways, that's pretty much it for today's video. Sorry it was so long. We will have, there is homework attached to this. I would like you to attempt it. I don't know if I'm going to be counting that as credit or not yet. I still don't know how all this grading stuff is going to work for this next 2 weeks or so, because I'm not required to assign homework, and you're not technically required to do it, but I would love for you to practice this stuff, and it would make me happy if you got that homework done. I might just assign it next week, though, so if you do it, you might have less work next week. And if you don't do it, then you will probably have more work next week. Anyways, thanks again, guys. I appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day, great rest of your week, and thank you for putting up with this online schooling stuff.